Hudson County View, live and uncut, and I'm your host, the reflection of perfection, and your #1 selection, John R. Heinis. And boy, do we have a lot of news to talk about today. This is one of the busiest cycles I've been a part of in the past decade plus. So without further ado, of course, our hearts and our thoughts are still with the victims of this horrible Hudson River tragedy on Thursday. Obviously it doesn't get much worse than that, folks, but some updates from the Federal Aviation Administration, and the big one that we heard late Sunday night was that New York Helicopter Tours, who had one of the aircrafts that was involved in this unfortunate fatal incident, they're ceasing operations immediately. And we have some reactions from the locals as well, but certainly that's a development that we did not expect to see this quickly. So we're going to dive into that. Also going to chat a lot about what's happening on the governmental side here in Hoboken. We have a new acting business administrator as well as a new assistant business administrator, but they're two familiar names and faces if you're following along closely. So obviously you want to bring you up to speed there. And also some more controversy, or not, depending who you ask, about the Hoboken budget. So also going to clue you in about what's happening over there. And then of course, a lot of elections this year. And in November 4th, we of course have the Jersey City mayor and council races. And there we know that Catherine Healy is running with Jim McGreevey. So that is certainly an interesting twist that many also didn't see coming. And there are just so many more things here. I've been here for a long time, so rather than try to recap it all at once, I'll just also let you know that we have Jersey City Economic Development Corporation Executive Director Mira Prinz-Arey, of course, who until recently was the Ward B Councilwoman in Jersey City, is joining me today. So all that and a whole lot more right after this word from our sponsors.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. So let's talk about what's going on with this Hudson River crash. So obviously this claimed the lives of 6. It was a family of 5 from Spain and then the pilot. And I'm sure you guys already know, but just to do a quick recap, that was Agustin Escobar, his wife Mercy Camprubi Montal, and their children were ages 4, 5, and 11. Some of those names came out, but I'm not going to mention those. And Sean Johnson, the 36-year-old pilot. And of course, this is an investigation from the FAA, the National Transportation Safety Board. Of course, most of you know them as the NTSB. But the big thing that we're talking about right now is what was posted on X on Sunday night. It says New York Helicopter Tours, the company involved in the deadly crash on the Hudson River earlier this week, is shutting down their operations immediately. We will continue to support NTSB's investigation. Additionally, the FAA will be launching an immediate review of the operator's license and safety record. So, obviously not something that, again, we were expecting this early on in the investigation, but that's quite a development, needless to tell you. So, we don't have any clarity on to how we got to this point as of yet, but I mean, we could probably safely assume that it had something to do with some of the comments from the CEO of the company, Michael Roth. I'm sure a large number of you, if not all of you, heard that he had an interview with the New York Post, and he had a quote at the end that said, "This is horrific, but you got to remember something, these are machines and they break." Obviously not a well-timed comment that a lot of people did not appreciate. And one of those people was Ward E Councilman James Solomon, who's of course running for mayor. And he said, "Machines break" is a hell of a comment considering these people were on his machine. Tourist helicopters are the most accident-prone vehicles in commercial aviation, in part because safety isn't emphasized and safety management systems just aren't good enough. So, that's basically what we got on there. For the moment, on Instagram, New York Helicopter Tours mentioned they were profoundly saddened by the tragic accident and loss of life. And they said they would not be commenting further. They would defer and comment to the FAA and the NTSB. Now on this topic, another candidate for mayor, that's Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day, he called on the FAA to shut down the Kearny heliport after the fatal incident that we've just been talking about. So kind of a bold call, but I guess it comes with the territory. Obviously, this has been a bold kind of race, I think is fair to say. And he said in part, as with past helicopter tragedies directly affecting Jersey City, there is a need for immediate action while the expedited analysis takes hold. Large portions of our city faced daily transitory helicopters flying low over homes emanating from the Kearney heliport. And he goes on to say the FAA must ban helicopter joyrides and immediately shut down the Kearney heliport. Other than that, I think it largely speaks for itself, but we didn't really get a chance to talk much about this last week, so I will add the NTSB board chair, Jennifer Homendy. She led a press conference in Jersey City on Friday, and at that press conference they said, obtaining pictures and videos from the incident is a high priority, so if you or anyone you know, friend, family member, colleague, whoever it may be, think that they might have something helpful, there's an email address there, and it's pretty simple. It's witness@ntsb.gov. Again, that's witness@ntsb.gov if you think you have something that may be of any value to this ongoing investigation. So, on less serious, but still, of course, important notes, let's go to North Hudson for a moment. This is kind of a fun one for those of you North Hudson politicos. So, of course, we got a assembly race going on in the 33rd Legislative District, and that's all of North Hudson. It's a caucus. On one side, you got Larry Weinstein, who ran for mayor of North Bergen 3 times against Nick Sacco unsuccessfully. And you have Assemblyman Gabe Rodriguez, who was in his first term. They're supported by the Hudson County Democratic Organization and State Senator Union City Mayor Brian Stack. Now, on the other side, you have Sacco, Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop, who is, of course, a Democratic candidate for governor. And they're backing Frank Alonzo and Tony Hector, who used to serve on the North Bergen School Board a little over a decade ago. So, what am I getting at? The point is, the development we heard yesterday is that Joe Blaitler, who's a retired Union City deputy police chief and is now also the head of a private investigations firm, he is going to be the campaign chair. Him and Senator and Mayor Stack used to be extremely close, and obviously that has taken a turn in the past decade or so. This is probably Stack's biggest critic, so obviously this is not so much about campaigning or politicking. This is more about sending a message. With that said, we heard from Alonzo and Hector, who said, since announcing our candidacy for Assembly, we have made it clear that stopping corruption and waste is a major priority, that the political machine which has run Hudson County for decades must come to an end. And then Blaitler added, the Stack political machine has destroyed Hudson County and it's time for a change, so I'm thrilled to join Tony Hector and Frank Alonzo's campaign to restore integrity, transparency, and leadership to our legislative delegation. At this moment, the Weinstein and Rodriguez team does not have a campaign chair, according to campaign finance records. So, there's a whole heck of a lot more. Hard to really see what's important next. Well, let's stick with North Hudson for a minute. So they unveiled full-day pre-K plan, and it's moving on from the Braddock Park trailers. This is one of the issues that saw a lot of friction between Stack and Sacco. They were fighting about this back in the fall, around October. Saw the Union City and the West New York Board of Commissioners, along with the Weehawken Township Council, put up resolutions, of course not binding, but calling for North Bergen to get out of the park, and that's exactly what they're doing now for the 2025-2026 scholastic year. And registration is going to begin on Thursday, May 1st. It must be done in person at the North Bergen Pre-K Center, 8701 Boulevard East within Braddock Park, and that's between 9:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. First come, first served, as you probably could have guessed, and obviously everyone from North Bergen is really excited about that. Pre-K 4 will be open to all North Bergen students who turn 4 years old on or before October 1st. Classes will be held at the Board of Education's 4 elementary schools. And there will also be a free Pre-K 3 on a limited basis, with 60 slots available to students from families who fall below federal poverty guidelines. So with that said, folks, we're about to take a break. When I come back, I'll be sitting down with Jersey City Economic Development Corporation Executive Director Mira Prinz-Arey.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View Live and Uncut. John R. Heinis, and as I mentioned a few moments ago, today my guest is Jersey City Economic Development Corporation Executive Director Mira Prinz-Arey, who until Friday was still the Ward B Councilwoman. So Mira, thank you for coming in.
Great. Thank you, John. Good to be here.
All right.
And your new space looks great.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. They certainly did a wonderful job here at the
Yeah.
Hudson Media Group. Very thankful for them. So obviously, we got a lot to discuss. So first of all, your tenure on the council, you did nearly 2 terms. This job opportunity arose. You went through the application process and it worked out. What led you to pursue this? And let's just start there. What led you to pursue this?
Well, so, as we're rounding out the end of the second term, I started thinking about what direction I wanted to go in and what was going to make sense for me. And so when I saw the job application posting, I was like, you know what, this actually kind of fits my skill set. It makes sense. Let me see what the process looks like. I knew I definitely wanted to do 2 terms. That was a priority for me for a whole host of reasons. First of all, bringing stability to the ward was really, really important. When I came in 2018, I was the 4th council person in 4 years, and as you know, it's a 4-year team, so there should have been 1 council person, right? And what happens when you don't have that stability is, projects get pushed to the side, things don't work out quite the way you want to. The West Side has always been considered a little sleepy. At times, people call it for the forgotten ward, but some of that I think is because of, some of the turnover in leadership. So anyway, I came to the decision that I was still of minds of doing a 3rd term, but wasn't quite sure what that was going to look like for me exactly. So I said, let me see what happens if I decide to open this door and walk through it. So, but I felt like it was professionally, it was a really good move for me because I was doing council work full time, and I did need to think about, being out of the workforce for 8 years. So that was also that played a role in the decision as well.
Sure, okay. So you mentioned stability in the ward and, the West Side having, that municipal representation that's important. And you felt like, I guess it was about 7.5 years, you decided like, I think we're good here. So, what are some things that you think were, some notable accomplishments during your tenure and you're happy you were able to be a part of?
Yeah, so one of the first things was, and this is like the sort of nuts and bolts of being a council person, we had a lot of utility work that was being done in the ward. So being able to communicate that out to residents and communicating residents all together. I brought back quarterly meetings when I came on to city council so residents could be in touch with city agencies to learn what they do for them and how to connect with them. I was part of the team that wrote the short-term rental ordinance. That was a co-sponsored ordinance with myself, Councilman Solomon, and the administration to sort of help with what we were hearing from residents about housing being taken off the market and turned into boutique hotels in neighborhoods, right?
The infamous Airbnb fight.
The infamous Airbnb fight, yeah. So that was really, we needed some regulation around that. We still kept it, some people would say not quite flexible enough, but flexible enough for people who are homeowners to decide to Airbnb should they want to. Another initiative that was really important was the creation of the West Side Special Improvement District. Not without controversy, but it was certainly something that prepared our business district for really being able to fully utilize the UEZ funding that has come back from the state, and that happened I think 2 years after we created the Special Improvement District. So while there have been permutations of business alliances and things, there was nothing really formalized. So that was something that has brought streetscape improvement to the ward. It continues to bring funding into our commercial corridor with the UEZ funding, so that was really important.
Sure.
And then of course, we went from a terrorist shooting right into COVID. So just like the city response and being part of that, again, communicating out to residents, making sure that their needs were taken care of to the best of our ability. Like that was really defining, and just seeing how the city worked together and everybody really coalesced around the what the government needed to do at the time, which was take care of its residents. So that was a really defining moment.
No, I can understand that for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And now you also mentioned that when you were looking at options, this EDC job, you said it was a good fit. And, I know a little about your background, but everyone may not. So, I guess the question would be, what's your experience when it comes to helping Jersey City small businesses and or nonprofits, or maybe just small businesses and nonprofits in general?
Sure. Well, this actually goes back to well before I was on City Council. I managed, was vice president of a gallery for 12 years. Was multi-million-dollar galleries, so long. The ability to work with budgets and to manage staff. When I started doing work on City Council, not only did we have legislation to create the Special Improvement District, but during COVID, I was part of the team with Cultural Affairs, Housing Authority, and the EDC to help distribute funds to our small businesses and also to our other nonprofits in the area. My work background is in both the private and public sector. I've also worked on policy around supporting businesses and business districts. So and also I have the legislative background to help with policy moving forward for our business districts and for our nonprofits. In the work that I've done on City Council, it's allowed me to connect with our small business communities. I did sit on the board of the West Side Partnership and the McGinley Square Special Improvement District, the McGinley Square Partnership. And I've always been, connected to and an advocate for getting them whatever resources they need.
All right, very good. Director, don't go anywhere. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Great.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Hudson County View live on Uncut. Still John R. Heinis, and still here with Jersey City EDC Executive Director Mira Prinz-Arey. So, obviously, the seat's vacant now. I guess officially you vacated the seat, like 8:59 a.m. on Monday, something like that?
Well, technically, end of day on Friday.
Okay, I wasn't sure which one. But all right, end of day on Friday. So obviously the seat's vacant and will be for an indeterminate amount of time. We know 3 people have at least expressed interest, if not formally applied. That's Maureen Eulings, Kayla Burrell, and Daniel Beatty. Any particular preference of who gets the seat, or anyone you think would be best qualified for that seat?
I've worked with all 3 of those women, and I think they're all really good choices for the ward. They each bring a slightly different skill set and different background, and so I don't see where one would necessarily be better than the other. They are all different. So you have, community activists. You have somebody who, is deeply rooted in work with our different communities. You have somebody who is, an institutional knowledge of how the city runs. So they all really do bring something, really valuable to the table.
All right, fair enough. And then last politics question, I think. So right now, at this moment, the Ward B race is a 3-person race. A lot of people think Joe Brooks has a great shot. Obviously, he had a strong showing against you. He came up short, but, he gave you a fight. How do you see that playing out as the current field?
That's a great question. And Joel and I, it was a very competitive race, and also for a first-time candidate, did a great job there. For the 3 candidates that are running, again, I've worked with all 3 of them, and they all bring something different to the ward, right? And I think it's a little early. We still also have a primary that we need to get through, and I think that while everybody's focused on the mayor and council race, from knowing that there's going to be a primary election in June that may end up shaping some of the mayor-council election in November, is something that really people should be cognizant of. So I think I'm also very much looking forward to learning more about the various Ward B candidate platforms. I think I would like to know how that's going to roll out, and then I of course wish them all the best of luck. I have a lot of respect for anybody who decides to throw their hat in and run, because it is not easy. It's a lot of work, but it also is an opportunity to amplify any work that you do. So, I mean, you can, regardless, there's only one person that gets the seat, but it can still be a win for whoever runs.
All right, I know what I just said, but you just mentioned the primary, so now I have to ask you, who do you like at LD31?
Well, in LD31, yeah, it's a competitive race there. I have known Barbara Stamato a very long time. I met her well before I was on city council. So Barbara absolutely has my support there. I think she's great. I think that Jackie has done a really great job in Bayonne. And I think that it's going to be very interesting to see, what Sampson and Jerry Walker's campaign looks like. Will Sampson has been, a good assembly person for the district. And Jerry Walker is a good commissioner, but depending on how things, what their priorities are there. But definitely, I mean, Barbara Stamato is somebody I also call a friend and a mentor. So, she's for Jersey City, she's my pick.
Okay, simple enough. Now, all right, the EDC. So first of all, I guess, what do you guys do on a day-to-day, week-to-week? I know you just got there, but I'm sure you have a pretty good familiarity. Yes. And, and I know you mentioned in the announcement the 5-year plan, so what does that look like? And, just give us a basic overview of what you do and what the agency does and what you'd like to see done.
Sure. So we'll speak broadly because, again, I'm 3 days in, right?
Yeah.
So my involvement with the Economic Development Corporation actually goes back to my first term when I was on their board. And then again, the work we did as a council representative during COVID for the COVID Relief Fund, which was run through the EDC. And then again, going back on as the council alternate last year. So I have, a fairly good idea of how the organization runs. I think what will be really important for the first piece of this is just reconnecting back to the business community, sitting down with Special Improvement District leaders and talking about what what came out of the 5-year plan, right? So really a lot of strong business support, a lot of tools for the community, connecting to our partners across the city and also the region. So we have the Chamber of Commerce, we have the Hudson County Economic Development Corporation, we have the EDA, we have the SBA. So really just kind of like looking at what programming is going to look like for the organization. I think that's going to be really important. And I think that right now, like there's a lot of chaos around us in the world in general. So for me, it's going to be really important that the EDC is a grounding point for businesses so they know where to go to get information, whatever it is they need. I'm looking forward to also working closely with our Housing, Economic Development, and Commerce Department, as well as the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency. That was another thing, making sure that we're all connected in how we look at business development and development in general across the city and economic development there. So that will be another thing that we can look forward to. And again, just like I said, like we're the place where you can come for the information you need to get the support for your businesses.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, just being the Ward B council person, as I'd said before, and I will continue to say, it was, really great honor. It was not necessarily a path that I had anticipated for myself coming to Jersey City, but I've been able to work with incredible people, and the city has a really great city council. We've got a great mayor. We've got a really great team of people that help run the city. So it's been an honor to work with them to bring resources to the ward, and I really look forward to the next steps with the Economic Development Corporation and using the relationships that I built at the city, county, state, and federal level to bring additional resources back to us.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate you making it a point to come in.
Of course, appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. We're not done yet. We'll be right back.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights. Your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments. Carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants. All major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hudson County View live at Uncut, John R. Heinis. So there's probably 10 more things I could talk about. We don't have time for everything, but going to do the best we can. Let's talk about what's going on with Carmelo Garcia. He was a Hoboken assemblyman who served between 2013 and 2015, and he got indicted as a role that he had in Newark, one as a director and one as a deputy mayor, and basically he's accused of taking bribes to help facilitate development projects. Now, this is an individual who got charged by a criminal complaint from the U.S. Attorney's Office in November 2020. Obviously, it is now mid-April 2025. Sentencing was supposed to be yesterday. Didn't end up happening. It actually got postponed for nearly 6 months. So if you look at the court docket, it says that it has now been moved to October 7th at 11 a.m. before U.S. District Court Judge Madeline Carks-Arleo. And there was no further explanation, which is not uncommon from the U.S. Attorney's Office, but you know, this is really dragging out a long time. And don't forget, as we were leading up to this point, to the guilty plea, which occurred in June, there were 20 continuances in the case. So, you know, don't really know what's going on here, but I guess we're going to find out soon, hopefully. Let's see. So now, with that, I can't really say too much more because there just isn't a lot to work with there, but it's certainly interesting. But speaking of interesting, Catherine Healy, who's the daughter of Jeremiah Healy, who was the Jersey City mayor between 2004 2013, she's actually going to be seeking the Jersey City Ward D council seat on former Governor Jim McGreevy's ticket. So that's an interesting development a lot of people also were not expecting. And McGreevy said Mayor Healy and the Healy family represent the gold standard in public service for Jersey City. Catherine Healy's experience in labor law, social services, and public safety makes her a critical force for good. So now we have 7 members on McGreevy's ticket, and he just has to fill the 2 more at-large seats. And then, you know, in the Ward D race, you got Patrick Ambrosi and Jake Efros running independently. You got Elvin Dominici running with Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day. And you have Veronica Akuzma running on the Ward E Councilman James Solomon's ticket. So you got a lot happening here over in the Heights. This is going to be a fun race to watch. For the moment, the incumbent, Yusef Saleh, is running for State Assembly in the 6-person primary for the 32nd Legislative District on Mayor Stephen Fulop's ticket. So speaking of Jersey City, then you have also James Solomon going after Jim McGreevy. His team, specifically his campaign manager, Stuart Thomas, took umbrage with an editorial that I published on Sunday. And McGreevy talked about quote-unquote fiscal mismanagement in Jersey City. And Thomas had a lot to say on that topic. He said, Jim McGreevy's career in politics is littered with misuse of government funds that have cost the taxpayers, both in Trenton and right here in Jersey City. The McGreevy governorship was awash in corruption. As an executive director of the Jersey City Employment and Training Program, city audits revealed that millions of dollars were unaccounted for under McGreevy's leadership before he was fired by the board. And he mentions a few other things that we just don't have time for at this moment. Also want to mention, CarePoint bankruptcy is over. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy months ago. And Hudson Regional Hospital is officially the operator of those 3 facilities, the Bayonne Medical Center, Christ Hospital in Jersey City, Hoboken University Medical Center. And then speaking of Hoboken, told you about there's a little drama with the budget. In short, 2nd Ward Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher, who's running for mayor, took some shots at Mayor Rami Bala for the 2nd time this month because the budget is not on tonight's agenda. Bala, in a letter to the council dated April 9th, blamed that on federal cuts by the Trump administration, citing some projects such as the Southwest Resiliency Park and the Rebuild by Design project. So that's certainly interesting. And related, just after he mentioned that, he also then did a release out of his office. Caleb Stratton will serve as Hoboken's acting business administrator next month after Jason Freeman leaves the position, with Jennifer Gonzalez poised to become the new assistant business administrator. That's all we have time for this week, folks. A lot going on, so thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.